Hey, gang, welcome back. We are now going to move into the next part of this series, Stonewall and the Fourth Reich. Enjoy. Also, we mentioned earlier that there is the flag backdrop that we're using for the video portion of the show. Part of what we're doing, we are taking the American flag back. I'm just sick of all these far right assholes who think that by being disruptive, by going through Target stores and tearing up, pride displays, by thinking Donald Trump was a good candidate still. I get the appeal back in 2016. I get that. There was frustration with government. There still is. But you have Google. You have all sorts of means to do your own lazy ass homework. And now you still support the guy? I I don't get it, and I won't. I'm done. I've done my homework. There's lists of shit that is. I mean, there's a revolving door on the White House because of all of his people. Remember, he was going to drain the swamp. Do we remember that? The only swamp he drained was his own house. That's the only thing where people kept leaving. What's that tell you? I knew a guy, a consultant in the hospitality industry, who worked directly for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the two guys to ever call this man by his nickname. For example, if he goes by Stephen or Robert, Donald would have called him Steve or Bob. He doesn't use the short nickname. He was one of two guys that ever did that, the other one being a supervisor of his in the military. This person and another colleague of his cried on election night back in 2016 because they objectively knew what our country was in for. And I've seen it. During my last years in the Secret Service, I was not safe. My job was not safe because of his removing homosexuals as a protected class. He was pretty much not the direct cause. Like, he didn't say, hey, go look in the Yergz. But during my time in the Secret Service, I was investigated 3 times by, we'll call it, our internal affairs, or equivalent to internal affairs. And I was able to prove that all 3 of them were not because I did anything wrong, but because of my sexuality. One was during the 2016 election period. They tried to get me for violation of the Hatch Act, which is where we as certain federal employees cannot try to influence elections. Go figure. And then, what's he accusing? And what did he actually try to do? And then another one in 2021. That kind of started with, during, his reign, but ended at the beginning of the Biden administration. But it was the same. It was his people. Call it what it is. It was his people who just were pissed that their good old boy network was taken down. And I was not the only gay agent in the Secret Service, and that's the story we'll tell someday. Is the video that floated around all of the Secret Service, the guy that hooked up with the Secret Service agent during the inauguration, and everybody thought it was me. But the guy takes his camera on his phone and holds it up and does a selfie while twisting. For those of you just listening, I'm turning my body so as to do like a panoramic of a hotel room that I might be in, like this kid was. In the background was hanging all kinds of blatantly obvious Secret Service shit. And this guy just, broadcasted to the world on TikTok how he just hooked up with a Secret Service agent. And so a friend of mine, another gay agent, calls me and says, "Was it you?" First thing he says, "Was it you?" I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know about the video yet. I didn't care. And so when I finally get out of him, what he's talking about, I just start laughing because I knew the kid. And he sent me the video. And I looked at it and I just start laughing again. It wasn't my hotel room. And I could easily prove that because I just started taking pictures of my hotel room. Kicker and funny thing about it, like I told you, I knew the kid and I hooked up with him. And he told me later, the kid told my friend, I know the kid, like I can call him right now, know him. And he said, I'm sorry, I got bored because we were working, it was during the inauguration of Biden, and we were working 12 hours easily, and being on day shift, I was actually working longer than that. Always take care of the midnighters whenever possible. And so we, worked a longer day so they could work a shorter one. So he hooked up with some midnighter who couldn't sleep. Well, he told me a little bit about him. I started getting some thoughts in my own head. And I reached out to somebody. And I could hear it in the person's voice. He was scared. So I knew it was him. So I'm just, taking a note. I, to this day, haven't said who it was, and I won't. Because God forbid his wife find out. That would be bad. And, the people under his charge, because he was a GS-15 supervisor, that would suck. But it's the drag queens. Bob Adams, as I said, was checking in. With my overseas experience, I fear for those people that might be mentioned in secret documents that pass through Spanky's hands. Yeah. I'm going to roll the dice here and say he's talking about Trumper. Those names would have value to a potential adversary. Oh, my God, yes. And on that, talk about, today's title, Stonewall and the Fourth Reich. He was told by more than, I think the number, I'll have to check this. Hopefully I'll remember to circle back and when I watch this again later and edit it 10 times and so on, we will, I'll confirm it. But I think I just heard it was 16. The number of government officials who told him everything that he wanted to do with those documents was illegal, was not appropriate. Yet Donald School and everybody else, so off he goes. So Stonewall, we're canceling things now in Florida. We've already canceled one we've already canceled one in Tampa. I guess Tampa does 2 Pride events. I'm still learning what's going on here. I know St. Pete is literally one of the largest in the country. There's a famous story about, my son Zach and me at last year's St. Pete Pride Parade, where neither he nor I had all that much to eat. So he gets us some cookies. And now I've learned what edibles are like. Yeah, we stayed there for a while till I could drive again. We'll just leave it at that. Unique experience, one I'm not looking forward to having again, at least not in that type of atmosphere. But yeah, that was a huge crowd. I've been to DC's, I've been to San Francisco's, I've been to LA, which are also West Hollywood's. West Hollywood is actually not a part of the city of Los Angeles. It's a separate city. One of the 88 other cities in addition to Los Angeles that makes up Los Angeles County. But West Hollywood, the gay mecca of LA. I've been to that one as well. and St. Pete's is big. But now we've got officials that feel that, and I can't help but think this was a knee jerk reaction that they just up and canceled. Were they really talking about this for that long? They haven't said that. It was just the decision that they don't feel it's safe, and on the one hand, that if that's really how you feel, then kudos for you for taking a sad step like that. But you also have to understand that's what this guy wants. The guy that you saw on, put back up the Make America Florida. That is literally his campaign slogan. And, look at that photo. Obviously, it's doctored. That's one of the better ones. Oh, you know what? I can't get my face on here because that's an overlay. Anyway, let's take that back. Okay, so that's obviously was doctored. That's one of the better ones. And, but that's the direction we're going. So let me further educate you, and then we'll wrap it up for today. This is the Reich. A German word translates to empire or realm in English. Historically, it has been used to refer to several German political entities throughout history. The most well-known and significant of these is the Third Reich, which refers to Nazi Germany under the leadership of Adolf Hitler from 1933 to 1945. The term Third Reich was coined by the Nazis themselves. This is how we're going to roll. Third Reich. And represented their vision of establishing a totalitarian state. Florida, he's keeping Florida free. But the term the Third Reich was coined by the Nazis themselves and represented their vision of establishing a totalitarian state that would last 1,000 years, following the Holy Roman Empire, First Reich, which did last 1,000 years, and the German Empire, which was the Second Reich, which lasted not even 50 years. Nazi regime, known for its extreme nationalism, racial ideology, and aggressive expansionist policies. Any of this sounding familiar? He just said it. Make America Florida. Done. Show's over. Had a profound impact on the world history and led to the atrocities committed during World War II and the Holocaust. Don't even try denying it. My grandfather was one of the liberators, and we're trying to figure out exactly what camp. But go to the Yergz group YouTube page. There's a video there about me. I was still in LA at the time when I cut the video. I'm watching a show called Hunting Hitler. And they are in Argentina following this one particular Nazi, and they found this guy's son. They're sitting at the guy's kitchen table. And the son speaks only German in Argentina, and he's bringing all this memorabilia out from his dad, who looks exactly like the guy. And there they are, these two medals that the guy's dad was awarded personally by Hitler. They're two Iron Crosses. And I'm getting a chill now just thinking about this. The ribbon that goes around your neck to hang, the cross from is this red, white, and black ribbon that's about inch and a half wide. My dad has one of those ribbons. His dad. However, we already know PopPop Yerger landed at Normandy. Well, what do we know about Normandy today? Normandy wasn't even a quote-unquote real invasion. It was a diversion for another invasion further kind of sort of around the corner, a little bit north and northeast on the French border. So when it was over, there were survivors. There was like 80% casualties at Normandy. And there were survivors, and my grandfather was one of them. And now they're like, all right, what do we do? And the European command was like, okay, what do we do? We didn't even really care if these guys survived. So they gave my grandfather and his men and all the other, 20% that lived and were mobile directions, like physical directions. Drive here, drive there, connect the dots. And you'll know what to do when you get there. That's it. And that's how my grandfather became a liberator. And we're still trying to figure out exactly, what camp. I've got some other notes on that. I might redo that video. But that's how PopPop Yerger became a liberator. And somewhere along there is where he got that ribbon. And I think it answers another question that he would never answer to my dad, is that did he ever kill anybody? And you don't get that ribbon at a gun show. You don't get that ribbon at an Army Navy store. You just won't find that. And this guy in Argentina had two. We need more people like my grandfather right here in Florida. So it is important to note that the term Reich itself predates the Third Reich and has been used in various contexts throughout German history. So when we say Reich alone, we're not necessarily talking about the Nazis. Although today's contemporary usage, we're talking about the Nazis. But for instance, the First Reich, as we said earlier, referred to the Holy Roman Empire. This particular portion lasted from 800 to 1806, roughly 1,000 years, like I said before. While the Second Reich referred to the German Empire, established in 1871 and lasted until the end of World War I, not even 50 years. And then the Third Reich, 33 to 45, 12 years. Thank God. Getting less and less each time. Hey, and that was part 2. Hang in. Part 3 is coming up next. See you there.